Hello and welcome back to Season 1, Episode 8 of the Breaking the Ice podcast. On today's episode, I am very pleased to be joined by a couple of very familiar guests. So I'm going to get straight into it with them. Please join me in welcoming Tom Bool and James Austin from Lexxika. Tom, James, how are you guys doing?
Hey, hi. Doing great. Thanks, Elliott. Good to see you again as well.
It is.
Likewise, Elliot. Doing great. Doing good here. It's been a long time. It's been far too long. And I speak for Tom and I. We say that we've both missed you. I think over the summer. That's for sure.
I know it's been strange, right? I mean, we saw each other like almost every week for months on end.
It felt that way.
Various different parts. Yeah. So, what have you guys been up to over the summer?
It's been busy. I think we've both been pretty busy. I think both of us have been here, there, and everywhere. So I just got back from a week away in Menorca with fam, which has been great. We back in July is my wife's 30th birthday, so we had a little trip away then as well, and we're going away again next week to a little theme park, kiddies theme park. My little boy's turning 2. So summer's been very, very good. It's been extremely hot as well. How's yours been, Tom?
Pretty similar, really. It is funny that this industry, you always see everyone. There's a chunk of the year when you're catching up with everyone, and then summer, no one talks to anyone. Everyone's head down. It's the busiest bit of the year, professionally speaking. But it's also when you want to get in all your own traveling and enjoy the bit of life you get for yourself without conferences all over the place. So I've spent 4 weeks of this summer, at least in France, I think, which was, I would say, a baptism of fire of some sort. It's just unbelievably hot weather there. And actually witnessing that firsthand was quite something. Went away on a little trip to Finland as well at the beginning of the summer, which was really, really lovely. First time I'd ever been anywhere near Finland and absolutely loved it. And otherwise, just head down working and trying to spend any, I mean, you know this about me already, Elliot, but any spare time, which is apparently a thing that people have, I try and spend playing either tennis, squash, badminton, or table tennis at all times, really.
Yeah.
So that's the rest of my life when I'm not with kids in France or working.
Or all 4 sports at the same time, Tom.
If I possibly can.
Was your trip to Finland?
That's exactly what Finland was all about.
Is that why you went? Is that why you went to Finland?
Yeah, it's this crazy sport that I've got into called racquetball, which is like the endurance sport version of playing racket sports, essentially. So over one short event, you'll play table tennis, then badminton, then squash, and then tennis, all against the same opponent to try and assert yourself as thoroughly better or worse than that other person.
Okay, and the order matters there, right? I mean, you
start from the smallest rackets and go up to the biggest ones.
Got it. I mean, it's a good way to describe it that doesn't diminish any of the sports that you mentioned. So
yeah, you start with the really, really rubbish one that no one should play at all, table tennis, and move up to a proper sport like tennis. Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say the easiest, but it's a good thing that you...
it's the one where I get beaten the most.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
How is Finland? Did you have any nighttime, or was it just unending daylight?
No. We were there during the White Nights period, so it was crazy. I've never experienced that before, but it was at kind of midnight, 1 a.m. It looked like what I would normally expect for about 7 to 8 p.m. here. So it gets dusky. The sun gets really, really low in the sky. It got kind of like you'd turn the headlights on your car, but it wasn't. You didn't need a torch to go outside ever. It never felt nighttime. It was really cool. Hard to sleep, but really cool.
I had a similar but opposite experience once. I got stuck in Iceland in December, and there was no daylight, and it was bizarre. And I think you both know that I'm not the best sleeper in the world.
Right. I remember, says the guy on a podcast at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah.
And I remember waking up. At whatever time to go outside to like catch the flight that I needed to catch. And I just couldn't figure out. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go back to sleep. And then I got up whatever time later, and it was like being on another planet, just going back outside, and it was the exact same.
That's
it was
weird.
so odd.
Interesting.
It's got
Um,
to get hard to deal with after a while. Like, I mean, it's probably novelty for a few days, but it would get boring pretty quickly, I think, wouldn't
yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like both of you have been traveling in your travel hiatus,
it? Yeah,
which
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I have not. I have
No,
not.
no.
I have had 2 feet firmly planted on the ground since the middle of July.
Good. Wow.
Okay.
Right.
I've been enjoying a tremendous amount of time at home, which I don't usually get these long stretches, which is great. Kids are off school, so
Lovely.
it's just nice to be home.
Yeah. I enjoy while it lasts.
That's great.
Yeah.
Doing all of the honey-do list tasks, building things at my house, and tending the garden. And I have been, well, actually, Tom, before I play my cards face up, how is your training going for our big race in October?
How is my training going? I have spent, with all this traveling over summer and things, and particularly spending a lot of time with the kids, I wasn't doing an awful lot. So I came off about 6, maybe even 8 weeks of, we had the conference in Canada, and then I went straight into time away in Finland with mates. Then I was off for 4 weeks with the kids. I got thoroughly out of shape. So I've spent the last kind of 2 to 3 weeks, probably 15 hours a week, probably, of running or playing racket sports. So I'm desperately trying. I think I'll be okay, but I'm never going to be anywhere near you. I'll bring binoculars so I can check out how badly how well you're beating me.
So first of all, 15 hours a week is a lot. So I think it's much more than I'm doing. Yeah, I was going to say I actually haven't been running all that much either. Well, I do like 1 to 2 long runs a week.
Okay.
But I started doing CrossFit again.
Oh God, right.
And
okay.
I've just been obsessed with it, like every day.
Right.
Every day. So I haven't really, like, your body's sore all the time. You never feel like going out for a long run. So I kind of, like, I'm doing the Sunday long runs as runners do. And then I try to get out like one other time a week for, I don't know, like sort of like a 10K to 12K middle distance. But that's it. So like if you looked at weekly distances but I mean, training for a long race, you're not getting kilometers in, right? You're not really building.
It's only half marathon, Elliot. It's not that long. I'm so not worried about you at all. Elliot's got all of this in muscle memory and in the locker completely. He's going to absolutely nail it. I'm so not worried about you in the slightest.
But you always want to do better than before, right? You always want to.
And I always want to do better than you.
I don't know,
particularly. Yeah. Which is no longer going to happen. Those days are long gone.
So look, I mean, it sounds like we're both out of shape and have a long ways to go here. So it'll be
there's only
interesting.
2 months. The race is in 2 months.
I know. I keep getting the emails from the right, like, hey, 2 months to go. How's your training going? You should be doing this.
Guys.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't invite you guys on just to talk about nothing, which we could do, by the way.
We could fill a couple of hours of talking nonsense.
Yeah. But so I guess first and foremost, Tom, do you want to introduce Lexxika, and then you and James can talk a little bit about the business and where you guys fit in the travel insurance landscape?
Sure. Okay. I mean, I'll give it a little start. James has probably done this whole thing so many more times than me in the last few years, so maybe he's the guy that should be doing this. But Lexxika is a languages industry service provider, which essentially is a fancy way of saying translation company, I suppose. We've been working in the insurance industry. I mean, I've been personally working in the insurance industry since like 1997 by accident, really, but properly with the assistance industry since about 2007. And Lexxika was incorporated as a translation company specifically specializing in the insurance industry and really specifically specializing in the assistance industry in about 2017. So we've been kicking about the sidelines of the insurance industry for quite some time. Now, what we really do, our flagship product is the provision of very high quality medical translations, predominantly of medical reports, police reports, crucial case documents for live cases to the assistance industry.
And James, how do you fit into the puzzle?
Yeah, no worries. So I've worked for Tom in some version or another since 2014. No, yeah, 2014.
He was brand new.
So long time. I was brand new. And I joined the Integral Languages as it was back then, with providing translation services to all sorts of industries, all sorts of, whether it be international brands, whether it be law firms, whether it be housing associations here in the UK, and everything in between. And at the time, we had a small book of business that was focused on the primarily the IPMI space more than the assistance back then. Then once upon a time, we had a prospect come along with a set of very specific needs around needing the translation of medical reports very, very quickly at high quality, 24 hours a day. Oh, and we don't know when they're going to be coming. And add on to the top of that the documents themselves are generally pretty ugly. You know, they're scans, they're photos. You often get people's flip-flops in the background, that kind of stuff. They're non-standard, pretty ugly documents. So we built a service specifically for the needs of that one prospect who said, yeah, absolutely, we can help. We can tick these boxes. Let's roll with it. And from there, it kind of grown organically through referrals. Obviously, as you well know, Elliott and everyone else who likely be listening, the travel insurance assistance space is pretty small. People move around, and we would kind of take along with them as they move from organization to organization. And this has kind of grown from there. We've then been able to scale based on the number of cases that we then handle and the number of clients that we now service, and ditched the generalist aspect of what we were doing. And like Tom mentioned, in 2017, just went full steam ahead with travel insurance and primarily the assistance pieces that we're working on.
So, I mean, without stating the obvious, travel insurance, travel assistance, obviously it necessitates language translation because of the cross-border nature of it. But I guess what are some of the, and Tom, you alluded to some of the complexities of servicing the market. What are some of the other sort of unique aspects of supporting travel insurance and travel assistance from your perspective? I mean, irrespective of, I guess the global nature of it.
Yeah, but there's an awful lot to it, really. Firstly, I think you won't find many people outside of the industry who even know what assistance is and what it's really all about, and that understand the challenges of an assistance company. So simply having our feet really well in the industry gives us a pretty unique position, particularly among the language services community, of actually having a bloody clue what on earth we're on about, frankly, because most people don't. When we talk to other language industry businesses, they like, you do what for who? I don't really get it. It sounds like a nightmare. Good luck with that. Well done. But the reality is that if to talk from our own background, to talk about a language services company, there are a few things that they all hate, which is really, really short documents, because there's no money to be made in it at all. Really, really urgent documents, because it's stressful. You'll fail and get in trouble, and you end up making difficult promises the end time. And then really, really complex documents. So things that are highly medical or highly legal or have high consequence if they're not 101% perfect. And what all of our clients routinely come to us with every single day normally contain all three of those horrible things that everyone hates. So when with the rest of the wider market would generally look at most of our clients and go, don't really want you, thanks. This is a really bad bit of business for us, and you'll probably be a damaging client. And then chuck on top of it the need for data security and for the rigor of transfer of documents between them and us, and you've got this kind of perfect storm of complexity. And I suspect most travel insurers and assistance companies, etc., really have no idea actually just how challenging their language requirements really are. When you look at the breadth of languages that can possibly be requested at any time, the absence of any prior notice at any point in time, and then the entire possibility that they may have one case today in Thai that needs to be handled absolutely urgently with a completely tested, proven and known resource, and they may not go anywhere near Thai for the next 9 months. So I might, they might be asking someone to completely skill up and provide all of this service for something that they won't then need, maybe never again. So when you really understand the whole kind of bigger picture, if we had one insurance client, it would put us out of business and it would be a horrendous nightmare. And I can see why no one else would want them. So we quickly kind of cottoned onto this and realized like we need volume to do this. It's got to be lots of them or none of them, really. So we gritted our teeth with the first client who really did keep us pretty busy and stretched us almost to breaking point. It was very, very difficult. I don't know if we can name them, James. Let's not. But it was one very, very big assistance brand that everyone will have heard of, and suddenly started firing us these requests at 1 a.m., 4 a.m., waking me up on the phone. It was sufficiently difficult that my business partner of that time threw in the towel and said, "This is the wrong way to go. Don't do this. You're going to fail. This is it's a stupid direction to go in." And it was at exactly the same time that James was just coming into his own and ready to really step up, and we've really never looked back. But I think I know your question was what makes it special and what makes it unique as an industry. I think I've probably tried to answer that, but really what I said, what makes it so hard to service. But you need to have an awareness of what you're going into, I think.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
There are so many unattractive external factors to it, and yet underlying all of that, I there's a passion to the travel insurance industry.
Oh yeah.
There's almost this mission driven, driving force for everybody. I mean, insurers obviously, insurers are insurers. They have to hit certain ratios. But even those insurers, I mean, there still is this sort of ethos within them. And I think that's why it's a lot of the same people that you see over and over again, because they have a passion for travel, and then that passion for travel, sort of emanates throughout their business, right?
I don't think it's just a passion for travel as well. I think it's obviously Tom and I see the worst case scenarios and then the bits in between. We don't see the cancellations, the baggage claims, all that kind of stuff. What we see is a real human element to travel. When you're meant to be on holiday on a business trip, and one of the worst things that can happen to you in that environment, right? You're in a foreign country, you don't know what's going on, you're having to get treatment for whatever condition you may have. You might be your child that's having treatment. There's a real human element to what we produce. And we found that with a lot of the translators that we use and we on board. A lot of the translators, there's a huge percentage of them that just don't get it. They don't understand it. It's not for them. They'd rather be translating books or marketing material, that kind of stuff. And even the ones that have medical translation experience themselves, I'd rather be doing the instruction manuals for medical equipment, that kind of stuff instead. But the translators and the people that really stick around, the ones that really get a kick out of helping people at the end of the day, without being clinical yourself, without being a doctor, without being a nurse, but actually being in hospital. This is as close as you could possibly be to being medical and helping an individual at the time of need. So when I started working with Tom in 2014, I had no idea assistance existed. And once that kind of door has been opened in that world, as you've been exposed to that world, you can see why people stick around for a long, long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So just speaking of scale, how many sort of off the shelf languages do you support? Because I know, as situations arise, you have ways of scaling to other languages, but just, tomorrow or today, how many are sat there that if a call comes in, you guys can support them right away?
We'd say 90 plus. It's in the 90s. In reality, people travel to the set locations the whole time. But we are able to service those more fringe languages, smaller African languages, smaller Indian languages, for example. But predominantly, we would suggest that we see 35 to 45 languages on a consistent basis. the rest are more infrequent and rare.
I have a good poker face because I was astonished. I was expecting you to say like 15.
No, no. There are God knows how many languages in the world. Tom, how many languages are there?
Yeah.
About 6,000.
Hundreds.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
60, 100. There you go.
60, about 60 hundreds, yeah, exactly. But there's about 5,900 of them that you'll never hear of.
Yeah. That's remarkable. 90 plus languages.
Yeah.
I mean, my head is spinning, and again, I don't want to spend the next hour just talking.
No, go on, test him.
Them out.
Make him name them.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly. You guys know
this
the
will be
thing
great content for listeners as well. They'll really love it.
Yeah. See me sweating if they had video.
What do they speak in Azerbaijan? No, Azerbaijani. Well, this is a conversation for another day. Tom, I'm going to slow down my pace. I'm going to slow down my pace when we're running, and we'll just we can rattle them off in October.
That'll be really fun. Looking forward to that. Another thing I've got to train for now. Yeah. So how
are there?
Go on.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I've got lots of questions I want to ask you about the start of your new podcast and things, but this possibly isn't the time for it. But it's exciting that you're kind of taking over the mantle from us a little bit and picking up the baton and going with it. The industry needs more podcasts. I think it's great.
Well, yeah, I guess that's sort of a good segue to the next bit of our past lives together, which is your fantastic podcast, which guys, correct me, but the Assistant Stories podcast is still going, right? I mean, you will have a future,
a summer hiatus. Summer hiatus. I think
you just can't get guests this time of year, and especially not assistance industry guests. We don't even bother hassling people this time of year, so we'll wait till September-ish probably, and then start drumming up interest for a next season. I think it's probably it's coming to its end. So, I mean, we're in season. If we do another season, I think it'll be season 9, 8 or 9 or something of the sort. We've been through an awful lot of guests, and this commitment to having a guest on every single episode rather than people just having to listen to me and James waffle on and talk about what we feel like talking about does have a certain shelf life probably, and it's hard to keep that kind of fresh and new. So it's possibly got one more season on it, but I'd be very happy to see Breaking the Ice come and take over the top spot. That'd be fantastic.
Well, that wasn't the intention. So
no,
just
go for it. I'm all for
benefit, for everyone's benefit, I had the opportunity earlier this year to co-host Tom and James's podcast with them called Assistant Stories. You should check it out. We'll do the plug now, as opposed to saving it for the end.
Okay. It's called Assistant Stories, and you can find it on all good podcast sources. Yeah. Yep.
It was fantastic, especially the last season.
Obviously, it was by far the best.
But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed doing it with the two of you. It was such a blast, and I think there's so many fascinating stories. Obviously, with this podcast, and with the merge between Nordic Insurance Software and ICE InsurTech, it's going to be more broadly focused than just specifically on travel and assistance. Even though that's sort of my roots and that's what I know best. I think it will delve more into general lines of insurance, which I'm excited about because it's a good learning opportunity for me as well. And so if we can bring on some good guests, in those areas, I'm sure it's going to be an edifying experience for me to participate in. But it has equally been difficult, lining up guests over this summer period. And so, I think it's been still a fitting start to have it be a bit more internally focused, particularly because we merged earlier this year, and we can kind of unpack a lot of that in these early episodes. But it's still a ton of fun. I could talk endlessly about anything. So
I didn't know that
think
about you,
just-
Elliot. So,
yeah.
Well, you crowbar those words in. Well done, mate.
I've started talking at 4:30 in the morning today, so we'll see how many
Yeah,
words I can get in today. Yeah, no, it's great. I think we definitely will cover some travel and assistance topics. I just think it's such an interesting industry. It's so interesting, and I think, and I'm sure. I mean, we're both service providers into the industry, and I think we both desire for there to be more of a spotlight on the industry because of how cool it is. The complexities of it are fascinating. Like I said, they're not for the faint of heart, but they're fascinating.
Absolutely. I speak to people outside of the industry, from friends, family, other gatherings, and people ask what I do, and I completely gloss over what Tom and I do. This is what we do for, but this is who we do it for, and this is what they do. And then you start talking about what's happening at an assistance company and what actually happens when you need them, and if the worst happens when you need an air ambulance, and the complexities around an air ambulance and the ground ambulance crew on the other end, and finding a bed back in the UK, which is and I talk about them rather than us, because it is so interesting, so exciting. It's way more interesting than me telling them that we do translations. Like, oh, okay, and then they say, what languages do you speak? And then it gets really awkward. So I try and avoid that question where I can. So
yeah. What languages do you translate, James?
Your
thanks for joining us on this episode.
Oh, there's someone at the door. Hang on, I'll be right back.
No, I'm the only one. I'm the only one in the organization that doesn't. So
Tom. If I recall correctly, you speak French, right?
I do indeed. Yeah, bilingual French speaker.
Yeah. So your time in France was en français?
I was kind of brought up around French as a kid. Studied French at university, well, international business and French at university, and then lived in France for about 6 years or something. So I don't quite pass for French, but not far off. Yeah, and I don't understand your Canadian version of French though. That's above me.
Hey,
can't keep up.
Listen, it's just. It's a more advanced. You wouldn't understand it, Tom.
Oh, it's like ultimate boss level French. I see.
How has, just in the theme of this sort of, being a technology service provider? You in some ways are also a technology service provider, right?
More so now than ever.
Yeah. So, I mean, speak a little bit into how things have changed over the last handful of years,
James.
with respect to your, domain of expertise, but then, broadly, languages.
So you're alluding to AI there. That's what you're alluding to, and it has changed considerably. There has been a form of AI in the language service industry for a long, long time. Any tool that was ever going to be created is going to be based on language, so therefore translation is one of the first things that they will start working on naturally. So back in the 20-teens, it's called machine translation. Machine translation was, frankly, hot doo-doo on the whole. But then we had the advent of ChatGPT, and it exposed the AI translation world to everybody, rather than just being focused on Google Translate. Now people believe it's therefore better. And at the beginning, it wasn't, and now it is evolving and slowly getting better. And it's always the question that people ask is, what about AI? Here in translation, AI can do that. And on the whole, it can do a good job at a conversational level. But what we're working with is translation of medical reports, medical documentation for individuals. We can't just plug it into any open source AI large language model due to data security restrictions, and as Tom mentioned earlier, that being a key part of the assistance industry. But equally, we haven't buried our head in the sand and it's gone la 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 la. This is going to go away. We'll be absolutely fine. We've appreciated that in order for us to get better, to stay more productive and stay at the forefront of what we're doing, we need to adopt and embrace AI. So traditionally, our translations were handled by a network of freelance translators that specialize in medical translations or have medical backgrounds themselves, based all over the world, and that's for every language. What we've started to do is bring some of that in-house as full-time employees. We didn't have full-time employed translators. The translation industry has historically been gig economy before gig economy was cool, and that's the way it's always worked. But in order for us to ethically introduce AI rather than demand more and pay less effectively for those freelancers, we've whilst not having full control over how they're working, how they're operating as well, we've decided to employ full-time employed translators to be internal translators for those key languages where the content of the translation is good. I'm talking about the Spanish, French, Italian, German. The rest of the languages we service in the traditional method because the quality of the output isn't good enough to warrant the introduction of AI. But I think that the key point for us was morally, how do we implement this and move forward? I know Tom is far more of a AI skeptic than myself. So how do we go to bed at night knowing that we've implemented this in the correct manner whilst improving and maintaining the quality of translations we're providing our clients, and how we are handling the relationship with translators as well, how we're communicating that to the translators. So we've seen significant productivity increases as a result. And that's just one aspect of the way we've introduced AI. Recently, we've rolled stuff out in terms of quality analysis as well to ensure that we're adding an extra quality layer into our process, as well as looking at other bits and pieces as to where we can implement it appropriately. How's that sound, Tom? Do you have anything you'd add on top of that?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, to answer Elliot's broader question without going completely down the AI rabbit hole, although we blatantly will, when I started in the languages industry back in longer ago than I really probably should admit, there wasn't a huge amount of tech involved. No language company considered themselves really to be a tech company. Today, language provision is 100% tech rooted. We're all about portals, integrations to bits of kit, the integration with the way we bring linguists into the workflow has completely changed through tech, and then the way that we deliver everything has completely changed. We are unquestionably a tech company now, really. We have our own bespoke portal, we have our own development team, and that's just the way of being in business nowadays. So
I think
we have migrated into a tech company without ever really setting out to be one.
Yeah. I guess that was the second part of the question, right? Was that there's a broader evolution that's happened where
it has to be.
File exchange is digital.
It's not just it's the expectations from the client, but also the regulations changing, right? The expectations around cybersecurity and data security, for example, means that the old ways just aren't possible. You have to keep moving forward. You have to keep developing. You have to keep proving that what you're doing is the most efficient, most secure way of doing what you're doing. And that all needs development, all needs tech, all needs smarter people than I.
No more fax machines anymore, I'm afraid.
Never send a fax. Never mentioned.
Viewers will not believe this, but James is the youngest out of the three of us. With his beard there, he doesn't give it off.
I haven't shaved for 6 months since I last saw you, Elliot. I refuse to until I see you again.
It's ambitious. It's ambitious. I was curious about the comment that you made, James, about sort of insourcing the core languages that where the AI output is sufficient. I assume that first of all, it's not you that's signing off that they're sufficient.
No.
This looks good.
Yeah,
this looks good.
Absolutely not. No, it's those individuals I mentioned that we've employed. So their role is to sit there and edit and review, improve.
Got it.
And work off a rather than translating from scratch, working off the base, which still requires significant improvement on the whole.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they still need to be I mean, highly skilled to be able to
Yes,
determine whether or not the output is sufficient
absolutely.
or not. Yeah. And I
And
guess this similar calculus has gone into determining that there's many languages that are not yet. And I mean, again, fascinated to hear that it's really only those 4 languages that
That's right.
have that level of sophistication or proficiency. Do you chalk that up to maybe just the volume that you're seeing, or overall is it just more
it's
broadly?
the complexity of the language as well. I think if we're talking it's like something like Japanese, for example, if it's a conversational piece that has, or a low impact piece, then probably it's probably be okay. But when you start adding in medical terminology, some of the formatting around these documents as well is some of the real tricky piece of the puzzle. Then it starts falling down. You start getting this question as to is the effort of improving and editing worth my time, and would the final product be better if I just if I translate from the beginning, rather than trying to polish this. Should I just start again and use my skills appropriately? Because editing is a completely different skill. I think that's been part of our recruitment process as well, is that not every translator is fantastic for this. You have to have a specific way of working, a specific mindset, to ensure that you are focused enough to appropriately correct and review the translations.
That's been a real learning process and a challenge for us as well, that we've really had to renew so much of the team as a result, because it's a completely different set of skills to work with AI output and to turn them into something perfect than to simply translate. I mean, it's hard to really give an insight to the complexity of the challenge, but yeah, you've got kind of these 4 key languages: French, Italian, German, Spanish, where if you look at the languages that the internet itself is written in, they're the most kind of commonly spoken languages on the whole. So the LLM models need that volume to harvest, to learn how to translate. But also, once you start getting to languages that are very distant from English, like take Japanese Japanese and Chinese are perfect examples, where the very concepts of medicine that they're talking about just don't track properly to English medicines. So we're trying to work not just between 2 different languages, but 2 completely different systems and sets of processes. Yeah. You're referring to the stages in the referral process that a Chinese person is going through, and you're using levels of different doctors and things that just don't exist here. So the challenge is so much richer and more complex than simply C word in language A, put it in language B. And we're constantly working across so many different countries. I mean, we talk about Spanish as a language, but that's 22 different countries. So you've got European Spain, where there's medical practices that are completely different to things going on in Mexico. And the reality of that challenge is considerably more complex, I think, than we really kind of take into account sometimes.
Yeah. I guess, and I mean, I should know the answer to this question. I'm surprised that I don't. When you're referring to translation, are you just referring to inbound translation, or are you also referring to outbound translation? And how integrated in that process do you get? Because again, I mean, an assistance company that is, let's just say, natively English speaking is going to receive something in Spanish. They have a patient or a client who's in a Spanish-speaking country. They don't have the in-house capability to be able to. But it's not just that document. I mean, it's the general level of support for that person wherever they are. How integrated in that process are you?
It varies really. So all assistance companies will have bilingual speakers or multilingual speakers as case handlers. That's the target recruitment, which makes perfect sense. So when they're able to communicate to hospitals in Spain or with a Spanish client, perhaps, or patient, that is one route. What we then provide is our telephone interpreting service for them to for us to support that, to supplement that for those instances where they don't have the language in house or those resources are currently busy. So that's how we support verbally. in terms of written translation, that you mentioned, correctly there, which is an English-speaking assistance company, they receive a document that's in foreign language. We're able to translate that into English, so their medical teams are able to review, make decisions, all that kind of stuff. And equally, we then have some insurance companies that want to sell to foreign language speakers, whether it be the UK insurer trying to sell to Europe or what have you. So we were able to support in terms of the translation of policy wordings, if it's all that kind of stuff, from English into the target language, which is a completely separate service to the one that we provide to those assistance companies. Different set of skills, different set of backgrounds, different set of translators, so that and a completely different process as well.
So if it's a situation where somebody's in some far off place, and the assistance company needs somebody to communicate on or with the patient or something like that, is that generally that's a different service entirely?
That is generally handled by telephone interpretation. Yeah.
Okay.
So we would provide an interpreter to their call rather than take that call on their behalf. We would provide a third person that joins the call and that can act as interface between those two people. So we can certainly we have done this for years. This is one of our bigger products. It suggests your question very smartly gets at the fact that you've got this kind of sliding scale from basic phone interactions to perhaps exchanging emails and exchanging communications, and then we end with the medical report. And our focus is really about that medical report because it's what the whole case really factually hinges on. And what's nice is that where technology has started to eat more and more, no, not eat, but contribute more and more to the communication process. So it's got easier and easier now to communicate in a kind of basic interactive level, like we are now. If you and I were speakers of different languages, there was tech that would allow this to work with no real challenges. Equally, if we wanted to exchange some reasonably low consequence email, that tech has been around a while now, and certainly with the new AI products, we'd be able to do that. If you were only a speaker of Finnish and I only spoke English, we'd get there. It's the medical document at the end where the real consequence lies, and that's the bit that we kind of think needs to be slightly protected. There's a role for technology, I think, in supporting the transition of that, but that has to be a medical human process still. It's something that's a hill I'll die on. And the day that we're not using human translators for that, I will leave the industry in a heartbeat. That's just the way it's got to be.
James, you certainly interpreted that my initial question was somewhat related to AI, but not entirely. And I don't want to conflate just general tech as only meaning AI nowadays, particularly because I think it's another tool that's used to build the infrastructure of various industries, right? And I think, Tom, you're referring to the different transmission channels that you have now, the different connectivity options that you have now that also provide a tremendous amount of efficiency. So if it was only AI and there was no way to leverage APIs to exchange documents or to connect via video call or to, you wouldn't be experiencing the same level of scale and efficiency that you do today, right? So I do think it's important to sort of put it in its right place and not see it as the antidote for everything, and just see it as a tool that helps to build a more seamless infrastructure, for the industry.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I actually read a great article by someone at IceTech about the similar kind of topic the other week.
How does it feel, by the way, to be on the other side of the interview?
Like it at all. No, I'm joking. It's unusual. I didn't. It felt weird not doing the introduction. That's for sure, because normally I do. But actually, it's kind of refreshing. I haven't got to be the one trying to think up these questions. I've just got to talk about myself a bit, which is nice.
You can do the outro if you want, Tom.
Oh, I think that'd be weird.
If you had a magic wand.
Have you got a question you're going to ask every single guest?
No, you know what? It's been a mixed bag. Yeah, it's been a mixed bag. Tom, I guess, or James, or both of you, you can answer this under the premise of AI, or you can answer this just sort of more broadly speaking. But things are changing quickly. Where do you see the most opportunity and the most challenge for you in coming years? And then maybe a little bit more broadly, just within the travel insurance and adjacent space.
Okay.
That's a fantastic question.
Did you want me to go first?
Go for it, mate.
Okay. I mean, broadly within the industry, I hate to say it, but the challenge coming down the road that no one can put aside right now is the climate. We're going to see an awful lot of very difficult situations for an awful lot of people. But I think actually in quite the short term, it's already beginning to have an impact on how people consider their travel options. This is really the first year I don't know how it's been in Canada. I've not kept on top of it, but here it has been incredibly hot. And I think this is really the first year that I've heard a lot of people actually actively avoiding destinations that are now too hot. We Brits have this, I've always found it a little bit odd, but the tendency of Brits is to wait till the hottest, nicest bit of the year in the UK and then go places where it's even hotter. And this is just what we do. We go to the coasts of Spain and get burnt to a crisp and then come home having missed all of the nicest weather back here in the UK. But this is the first year I've heard that that's actually, people are really rethinking that and go, I'd love to go to Spain, I'd love to be in the south of France, but it is too hot. And I think that's really going to have an impact, an unfortunate impact, I think, over the next few years, probably if this trend continues, where people are rethinking their travel. I have seen a huge growth over the course of this year. I think the stats aren't really out on it yet, but I'm keen to see. I think this will be coming up in the conferences and things. The amount of people traveling within the UK this year instead of going abroad has been surprising to me. So I suspect that's probably happening in an awful lot of countries around the world, which is going to have a downward pressure slightly on international flights, I think. So that's a little gloomy. I realise there's an awful lot of positive to it as well, and it may simply change the way that people are travelling rather than stop people travelling. You can't stop humans travelling. That's just what we do. So I suppose probably the people of Europe might just move north a little more than south, perhaps in their choice of destination. So it might move things around and get us away from just French and Spanish. But that's certainly one thing I can think of. I think that's coming around the corner pretty fast, to be honest.
James, what about you?
I'm going to go down the AI route a little bit. Tom's touched on the climate there. For me, it's the challenge is going to be the overuse of AI and then a possible scale back as a result. Talking outside of what we do, but talk about the assistance industry as a broader aspect. The need for humans in this process is paramount. Humans are at the core of everything for the service that they provide. My concern is that there's going to be an overemphasis on AI and the need to replace people with AI in this space and the impact it's going to have as a result. If I was an individual that needed assistance at that time and I was speaking to someone that was obviously AI or thrown into a process that was driven by AI at a time where I'm highly stressed, highly worried, it's only going to lead to a negative impact, negative results too. So I could sit for another hour and Tom will join me about the concerns and the negatives of AI and what could all mean. But that would be my challenge that I can see coming forward sooner rather than later, I imagine as well.
And what about opportunity? Where's the biggest moat right now?
I think talk to the travel industry as a whole. There is a ever-growing, you hear it at every conference, and I'm going to reiterate it, but it's an ever-growing desire to travel. Like Tom mentioned, you can't stop people traveling. People just want to go, regardless of age. My mum is approaching 60, for example, has just spent 3 weeks traveling Asia. 50 years ago, that was non-existent. So it's a huge pool of people that now want to travel these more exotic places, more places that weren't readily available back when they were traveling when they were young as well.
Tom, what about you?
Well, so, I mean, I think similarly, the access to greater information about the world, I think, just increases everyone's desire to travel. Actually, so I think we can probably, if you really blue sky thinking the whole thing through, AI makes everything more effective. Why is more of the world not moving perhaps to 4-day weeks, or we're all unchained from our desks a bit more? We've got a bit more time, spend it out in the world. I've used AI to guide me around places and taken me to visit places that I'd never have thought of going otherwise. So the way I travel has changed considerably with AI, even within the UK. So my last visit to London, I had a whole list of like 20 cool, fun things to do in London that I had never heard of before and never thought to do. And this is happening at a global scale. So I think travel's only getting more valuable to people, more important. Economically, whatever happens in the global picture, I don't know. But for those that can travel, it's a fantastic time to do so. And AI only makes the experience richer and better, I believe. So I think that's going to carry on. It's going to see probably new ways of promoting different places. The destinations that we go to, I think, are going to be changed a little bit. New places getting more of that attention is probably only a great thing for them. There's a whole new range of nations that could do very, very well out of seeing a slightly fairer share of global travel and global tourism. Probably it is over concentrated on a certain few poles at the moment. So I think there's loads of positive opportunity there. I think as humankind, if I could use such a pretentious term, really kind of wakes up to the climate challenge that we're going to see coming forward, I think it's going to change behaviours in some really exciting ways as well. As soon as we actually get really, really focused on the problem, I have massive faith in the human species. I think we're a fantastic bunch. We create some amazing stuff that absolutely nothing else has ever done before, and we'll go on to do so. So as soon as we actually get focused on the real problems and stop hopefully waging stupid wars with each other, we might actually do something really incredible as a result of all of this. So there's opportunity all around if you try and stay positive about it all. I think specifically economically, I don't really know, to be completely honest. I think we started out this podcast with a big conversation about kind of why we're in this industry and the kind of people that are in this industry and why people love travel and why people love the travel insurance industry so much. If you were just in this for an easy life and to make money, I'd have probably jacked this in and become a property investor years ago. It would be a far easier way to feed my kids, honestly. But hospitals, emergency services, insurance companies are full of people who have intentionally not made that choice because they actually care about seeing these outcomes and delivering these things. I think not only do I care very much about the travel space and the delivery of the service that we actually deliver, I do care quite considerably as well about the languages industry where I came from, and I have watched that largely be decimated in the last 10 years. Probably the rise of technology has had an incredibly negative impact, largely across most of the translation industry. And I'm very proud to say, really, that James and I have approached the entire integration of AI and just the rollout of tech in a way that has always started with not what can we do, but what's fair? Like, are we really going to be the people who have taken this business into a position where it uses fewer humans, less people, and gives less back to them as well because they're being paid less because machines are doing more? Not comfortable with it, frankly. So our opportunity, I think, is to just be honest about that and say that, of course, we're using tech in the right places and we've made a lot of efficiency gains, and we're giving that back as well and sharing that fairly and using it in a responsible manner. And I think there is a time of reckoning at which, to allude to kind of James's same point, that we must in some way protect the role of humans, because we can all replace ourselves completely, but what on earth are we going to do? Where does the global community and the global economy actually go when none of us are economically useful? I don't like the idea of living in that world, even if it's perfectly achievable, and maybe there will be a whole other source of peace for us all, and we'll find great fulfillment in not having to work, actually. I believe that we are all intrinsically creative and useful and want to do stuff and want to help and want to do things. That's certainly the cross-section of humanity that lead this industry, I believe. And I think hopefully the big opportunity around the corner is for us to really get back in touch with that and realize that lots of people are in this because they love it and they care and it matters, not just to produce the greatest possible profits from it and to minimize the human cost involved in it. That's my hope.
I think there's just a sort of a closing thought here. There's an entire separate conversation that we can probably fill a podcast episode on.
Probably.
About just about the concept of learning.
Yeah.
And the concept of learning languages as one, sort of example of whether or not or how people are going to learn going forward.
Yeah.
And whether or not there's going to be a sort of a broad diffusion in society and intergenerationally, right? But I'm fascinated by this concept of like generational trends and intergenerational trends and how there is a sort of a reflexive response intergenerationally.
Yeah.
And I think, some of society's problems today are going to be exacerbated by generational trends of the future, and some of them are going to be solved by sort of a response or reflex to, the ills of today. So there's a tremendous amount to unpack there, but I just think near and dear to you guys is the concept of learning languages and will people continue to seek out to learn languages? Somebody has to keep the fire burning, right? So I think maybe we'll pin that and we'll save it for a future episode.
Don't pull that cord because I could be.
You've already talked for hours. You put 20p in him already, Elliott.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys. I mean, it was an absolute delight to have you on.
Thank you.
I think there's an endless amount that we can talk about, and I do very much look forward to seeing you both. Where am I going to see you both? I mean, what does the fall travel schedule look like for you?
I guess we won't be seeing you until the IAG event. Are you doing IAG?
Yeah, in Turkey.
Yeah, Istanbul.
Turkey, Istanbul.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I'll see you in 2 months' time in Toronto.
Please stay for that.
Yes, but otherwise, I guess we'll see you in Turkey.
Looking forward to it.
Cheers, it's been a pleasure.
All right, gents. Thanks, guys.
This has been huge fun. Thank you and well done.